amidst soaring COVID-19 rates. Mr. Johnson's calls for children to return to school were echoed by Ofsted Chief Inspector Amanda Spielman, who has warned that children's education cannot be furloughed for months while COVID-19 vaccinations are rolled out and the country waits for coronavirus cases to subside. Writing in the Sunday Telegraph, the head of England's schools watchdog said that time away from school should be kept to an absolute minimum. COVID. Ofsted chief urges school return amid warning children's education cannot be furloughed. COVID. Leading teaching union advises primary school staff not to return to classrooms. Government faces renewed pressure from teachers over plans to reopen schools. However, teaching unions are calling for the return of face-to-face teaching to be delayed, amid soaring cases of the new COVID variant. On Saturday, a record high of 57,725 coronavirus cases were reported and 445 deaths within 28 days of a positive test. It was the fifth day in a row when UK figures were higher than 50,000. It came as a leading teaching union advised primary school staff not to return to classrooms on Monday, amid what it said were unsafe conditions amid the pandemic. On Friday, Education Secretary Gavin Williamson confirmed that all London primary schools will remain shut next week, as a last resort, as the capital battles with high levels of coronavirus infections. Ofsted Chief Inspector Amanda Spielman has said school closures put children's lives on hold. Credit. PA. Most other primary schools in England are expected to still open on Monday while secondary schools will reopen on a staggered basis, with exam year pupils returning on January 11 and others returning a week later. Schools will remain open for vulnerable pupils and the children of key workers, as they did when they were shut in the spring and early summer. In Scotland, the Christmas holidays have been extended to January 11, and the following week will be online learning only. A full return to face-to-face learning is planned for January 18. In Northern Ireland, primary school pupils will be taught online until January 11. In secondary schools, years 8 to 11 will be taught online throughout January. Years 12 to 14 will return to school after the first week of January. In Wales, local councils have been told they can be flexible with when they open, with many schools aiming to return for face-to-face lessons from January 11. COVID. All London primary schools to stay shut after government U-turn. UK hits new daily COVID cases record with 57,725 coronavirus infections. Speaking on the Andrew Marr Show, Mr. Johnson said he understood people's concerns about children returning for the new term but said education is a priority. Schools are safe, Mr. Johnson said. It is very, very important to stress that. The risk to kids, to young people is really very, very small indeed. The risk to staff is very small. I would advise all parents thinking about what to do, look at where your area is. Overwhelmingly you'll be in a part of the country where primary schools tomorrow will be open. He added, I understand people's frustrations, I understand people's anxieties, but there is no doubt in my mind that schools are safe and that education is a priority. Mr. Johnson would not be drawn on whether primary schools would be closed if the situation did not improve in Tier 4 areas, but said the government would keep things under constant review. Boris Johnson has insisted that schools are safe for children to return to. Credit, PA. The PM also failed to give a definitive answer when asked whether he could guarantee schools will open on January 18 and whether GCSE and A-level exams would take place in the summer. Mr. Johnson said the government would continue to assess the impact of the current tier system on COVID rates. On whether GCSE and A-level exams should be cancelled, the Prime Minister said, we've got to be realistic, we've got to be realistic.